Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. Kaka ji, what is this entity time that we know as Samay or Kal?
Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. On the physical level, time can be called as a relative concept. In simple words, we can define the time as the intermittent interval which is required to reach from the point of beginning of a count or a process to a point where it ends. It is called relative concept because for practical purposes, standards of time have been created. Now we know that in the Western system, 60 seconds equal 1 minute, 60 minutes equal 1 hour, 24 hours equal 1 day. 7 days equal 1 week, and 365 days equal a year. All this comes under calculation of time. In Vedic tradition we have Vipal Pal, Ghat, Tithi, Ritu, Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha, 360 days of Shakya or Samvat. These are the Vedic time calculations.
Kaka ji, what is the meaning of ever-present?
The ever-present is beyond time. It's an ongoing natural state. It is a form of consciousness. We call it the ever-present because it has no past and it has no future. That is the reason it is called ever-present.
What is its relation with the present?
The present time is a relative concept. It comes under the practical, physical time calculation, which has a past and a future.
So, can we identify the bindu or the point with ever-present?
No, the point, the origin point, is also relative. This is because if we travel towards the left of this origin point, then it is considered to be minus or negative. And if we travel towards the right of this origin point, it's considered plus or positive. So it's also a relative concept. The ever-present is an experience. It is one's true form, one's natural state and bliss as well.
Kaka ji, how is this bindu or point related to dhyan or meditation?
In the process of dhyan or meditation, we move from sthul sharir to sukshma sharir. From sukshma sharir, we move on to the karan sharir. From karan sharir, we graduate to the mahakaran sharir. Mahakaran sharir is what the scriptures call the Turiya, and when we move beyond the Turiya, we experience asampranya samadhi. At that point, we become timeless and beyond time. The experience of timeless and beyond time of the saints is beyond the conceptions.
So, to be centered within oneself is to be centered in the ever-present?
One can experience the ever-present only when one attains oneself. What this means is that if you are in the ever-present, you have already attained yourself. You are in your bliss. You can feel the universe.
Kaka ji, when we are in dhyan, we are in the ever-present. But when we are not, then what?
In the Asampranya Samadhi, we are in the state of ever-present. Carrying along that experience, when we move back to the Mahakaran Sharir or Turiya, we are still in the ever-present or the state of consciousness. As we reach the Mahakaran Sharir, in that state the time calculus starts happening. This time calculus is still subtle. As we move to the Sukshma Sharir, it becomes more and more clear and distinct. And by the time we reach the physical or the Sthul Sharir, we can clearly experience the relativity of it under the practical system prevalent all around. All the digital clocks that we see around, they are all a practical interpretation of that relative time calculation thing. And they function according to that system.
Kakaji, even after having experienced the ever-present, why do we still slip and fall onto the plane of time?
It is perhaps the very nature of the body, the feeling of being in the body. Then there are also practical reasons, because somewhere or the other practicality is associated with the body, and that's why we come back to this physical level. The saints, the divine souls, they deal with the everyday practical issues with the body. They remain in the body but are still beyond the body. Their dealing is through the very medium of this physical body. So there is no obstacle in their ever-present moment.
Kakaji, a sadhak wants to know what is the relation between silence and ever-present.
The ever-present is silence and silence is ever-present.
And what is the relation between serenity and ever-present?
Peace is a form of the ever-present only.
And Kakaji, what is the relation between Sahaj Samadhi and ever-present?
The way one conducts oneself being in the ever-present moment is Sahaj Samadhi. The way one conducts oneself being in the ever-present moment is what is Sahaj Samadhi.
Kakaji, same sadhak has another query. He seems to believe that the formless and shapeless is a reflection of ever-present, whereas the form and shape relate to the present. So, tangible entities represent the present and intangible represent the ever-present.
Whosoever has given the explanation and whosoever has raised this question is a sensible man. The explanation is absolutely correct.
Raman Maharshi ji and Baba Nisarg Dutt Maharaj ji both have emphasized on focusing one's consciousness on the fact I am. Kakaji, can you put some light on it?
I brings you into the present. Am is the ever-present. Am is the ever-present and I is the present.
So, to be there in one's own presence is being, Kakaji?
Yes. If you remain in the ever-present, you will feel the am, and if you are in the present, then you will experience I am.
Kakaji, a sadhak has a query that in our worldly desires such as fear, anger, like, dislike, hatred and jealousy, even though partially, can we experience the ever-present through these?
Till the time one does not move away from these, move beyond from these, one is not eligible to experience the ever-present. All the instincts that rise in us, they are in the realm of time. They are related to time. Instincts in fact are time.
Kakaji, a sadhak has asked, he has read many religious scriptures and teachings of many learned gurus. All of them emphasize on the glory and grandeur of our real form, but we still are not able to accept this true form of ours. What would be the reason for this?
Intense feeling of being a body is the reason why one is not able to experience that form or accept it.
Kakaji, a sadhak wants to know, do the thoughts come from the mind or the soul?
Thoughts come from the mind, not the soul. The soul is thoughtless. It's never changing. It's unwavering.
So, Kakaji, who experiences any experience? Is it the mind or the soul?
The witness inside is the one who experiences. He remains aloof and neutral.
So the experience happens to the mind, Kakaji?
The witness experiences, but the recording happens in the mind.
And when the recording stops, Kakaji, then what?
When the recording stops, you are in your true self.
Kakaji, a sadhak wants to know, if we get rid of our thoughts, stop brooding about our past and stop worrying about our future,
the moment your thoughts stop, you are immediately transferred to the ever-present moment. There is no past then, and there is no future as well.
So he wants to know whether our existence will get over in this state only?
The existence does not cease, it continues to be. Your existence is the existence of the world. Being a part of the Supreme Power, your existence will never cease to be. In fact, you are beyond time, just as the Supreme Power is.
Although we have got our answer, but there is one more question related to this, Kakaji. We get our identity from our past as well as our future. That makes us complete. So, leaving behind our past and future, how can we become timeless?
Your practical identity is related to the concept of time, whereas your identity beyond the concept of time is just your being there. In a state of deep sleep, you are beyond the time. In a state of deep sleep, one is beyond the realm of time. There is no concept of time whatsoever. In Samadhi, being beyond the time, you are aware of being beyond the time. Whereas in deep sleep, being beyond the time, one is not aware of being beyond it.
Kakaji, somebody has asked, the mind is always worried about the consequences of our past actions and is curious about our future. So how can we experience the ever-present in the present?
If one is really in the ever-present, there is no present whatsoever. If one is in the ever-present, there is no worry either of the past or of the future. The moment you leave the present, you come in the ever-present. Then there is neither any past nor any future.
Is being in the ever-present same as being mindless, Kakaji?
Being in the ever-present is a mindless condition, and you can live without the mind.
Kakaji, a sadhak has again asked, why are we constantly feeling restless and anxious? The moment the first task is over, we are on to the next one. We are not able to control this anxiety and restlessness anyhow. How can we be in the ever-present while being in this uneasy state?
This anxiety is a symptom of the identification with the body. This anxiety is the explanation of the time. It is the very concept of time. The entire manifestation of mind, knowledge and consciousness is happening in the realm of time.
While being in the ever-present, Kakaji, can we continue with the worldly affairs?
Of course we can, there is no problem. For example, if you have learnt the art of good driving, you have mastered the skill of good driving, then while you are driving, you can think about a lot of things. You can focus on bank management or financial management. Not only this, you can also plan about your home management. You can even focus on PRO management or a lot of other things as well. It shows that things are going in good synchronization. And you can function well like this. There is no obstruction.
Kakaji, a sadhak, suddenly felt surge of a feeling that he wants to share. He would like to be in the ever-present or realize his true self, but he wants this to happen immediately. Can you please explain what this feeling is?
Feeling this emotion is a good thing. It's a past indication, it's a positive sign. But to bring the emotion into action, to make it reality, that needs blessings of the Guru and hard work. Blessings lead to hard work and hard work leads to blessings. And when they both merge together, then you can attain your true self. But only the emotion part is not enough by itself.
Kakaji, a sadhak has asked that he is able to be in the ever-present for a few moments, but then he is back again in the realm of thoughts.
See, in 24 hours, You inhale and exhale for 21,600 times. Out of these breaths, many times you are in the ever-present, but you are rarely aware of it.
Kakaji, same sadhak wants to know that what can we do to get centered in that state of the ever-present permanently, such that no pull of thoughts or impressions is able to dodge us from that blissful state.
With your dhyan and meditation, till the time you haven't attained your true self, you will continue to feel the shackles of these evils. And once you are centered in that state, centered in your true self, then no question will continue to exist before you. You will be beyond all questions.
Kakaji, it is said that this world is full of duality. What would you say? Is this duality...
The world is not full of duality. Duality is the name of the world. Duality is what we call world.
Kakaji, is it possible to get liberated from this world the moment we get centered in the ever-present?
The very meaning of being in the ever-present is to go beyond the world. While still being in the world, one is able to rise beyond it and conduct accordingly.
Kakaji, a sadhak wants to know, there is a shlok in Bhagavad Gita, Karmane Vadika Raste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. Does this talk about being in the ever-present?
Absolutely, only the one who remains in the ever-present, only he is authorized for this mantra. Only the one who remains in the ever-present is able to experience this shlok, and only he is the one eligible for this.
Kakaji, isn't being centered in the ever-present or practicing it a result of grace and blessings?
Along with the blessings, one needs the hard work also. Blessings and hard work both are needed.
But aren't blessings the primary thing, Kakaji?
Blessings are the primary thing. In fact, the entire world runs because of the blessings. The grace of the blessings. The existence of the entire world is a grace of the blessings only.
So, should we assume that the hard work complements the blessings, Kakaji?
If the hard work is accompanied by knowledge and conscience, then it complements the blessings, and then it is attained through the blessings only.
So, then what is the significance of hard work in this, Kakaji?
Conscience and blessings surging with activity is what we call hard work.
Kakaji, a lot of sadhaks have asked about topics like self-knowledge. With your permission, may I ask the first question, Kakaji? The sadhak wants to know that whether we do not know ourselves, and if we do, is it different from reality?
To remain in oneself, and while remaining in oneself, feeling oneself is the self-knowledge.
So, after the self-knowledge, Kakaji, does one acquire the ability to become aware of everyone's virtues and flaws?
Whose virtues and whose flaws? The one who has moved beyond the virtues and the flaws, only he can remain centered in himself, and he has found himself. He has attained real wisdom. Now he is rooted in the absolute core of the existence.
Kakaji, the same sadhak wants to know that whether after gaining self-knowledge, would we become capable of knowing our own and everyone else's past and future?
One does become capable of it, but it isn't necessary that one has to do it.
Kakaji, another sadhak wants to know that we are well familiar with our thoughts, emotions, physical body and our ego. So how can we believe that we do not know ourselves?
He may be acquainted with them, but he isn't liberated from them. Acquaintance is just knowledge. Only when it becomes coupled with the experience, with a strong feeling, can it be any useful and beneficial. Otherwise, it's only knowledge. Without the fragrance of some real experience, it remains mere knowledge.
Kakaji, who is the one inside us who is well acquainted with all of these, but is not acquainted with ourselves?
He is the one who knows you also and everyone else also. He is the soul inside you, your true real self.
Kakaji, another sadhak wants to know that our entire society is progressing at a fairly fast pace. Still, we haven't been able to devise any technology through which we can know ourselves. Why is knowing our true self so difficult, Kakaji? Could you please throw some light on it?
To know one's real self is not that difficult, but the resources that one is using or the equipment one is using, they are the reason for the problem, for the failure, because they are flawed themselves, and so if you will use them, it's certainly going to lead to a failure. In other words, if one has to know one's real self, then no resource or equipment is required at all. If you are really dependent on the help from any resource or any equipment, then you are doomed to be failure, that's for sure. A mirror is only useful if I really want to see my own reflection. But once I've seen myself, the mirror loses its utility.
Kakaji, looking into the mirror, we are able to look within ourselves. Does the Guru also act like a mirror for the disciple?
A Guru does act like a mirror only. Once he makes you aware of your own reflection, then he simply removes that reflection so you know yourself.
A mirror is totally unbiased, Kakaji, as far as reflecting the entire world is concerned. But a Guru makes seeing one's real self possible for 1 in a million only, Kakaji. Why so?
The one who comes before a mirror, only he is able to see his own self, a vision of his own reality. Somebody who comes before a wall, a dead wall, will not be able to get any glimpse. Or if somebody can create his own mirror so that he can get a glimpse, a vision of his own reality and then remove that mirror reflection, only he can benefit from the mirror.
Kakaji, another sadhak has raised a deep question. He wants to know, with the passage of time, why have we become so ignorant that we have forgotten our true identity?
With time, we get so much identified with the body that we lose the sense of reality.
Kakaji, the darkness disappears as soon as there is light. But in spite of this, even after listening to Guru's teachings or reading the scriptures, why doesn't our ignorance disappear? Isn't ignorance like darkness only?
Just like the darkness vanishes once light enters, similarly ignorance vanishes once knowledge enters. But that knowledge has to come from one's own experience, one's own feelings. It should be filled with conscience. Only then can that knowledge set you free from the shackles of ignorance.
Kakaji, a disciple wants to know, what is this karta bhav, or the feeling of doing something?
The emotion associated with a strong identification with the body is the feeling of doing something. I have done this thing. I am doing this thing. This feeling is the karta bhav.
So, if this is only an emotion, Kakaji, isn't its absence possible? And is this temporary emotion capable of performing temporary action?
Two things to consider. One, the karta bhav is associated with the body. And because it is associated with the body, with this materialistic dimension, it can be a non-entity. There isn't any big deal in it. It can cease to exist at all, but not without a real solid experience. On the theoretical level, it will not cease. One has to go through the experience, only then one can transcend beyond it and move on.
Kakaji, of all the actions happen through us, is it really that we perform all these actions or do them? Or is it only we are immersed in this feeling of doing them and the actions happen by themselves?
The reality of the matter is that all those actions which are associated with the identification with this body, they are not under the control of the doer. So all those actions or karmas don't happen by themselves, and neither do they reach the desired outcome.
So Kakaji, all the incidents that happen around the world, don't they happen by themselves?
All those things happen with the divine grace through that divine medium, but the people have the perception that I have done this thing. That feeling of ego is there.
Kakaji, do we really have the freedom of actions, of thoughts, or of any choice whatsoever?
You have the freedom with you before you do the karma or the action. Once you have done the action or the karma, you lose that freedom. And once you have done a karma or committed an action, then you are bound to face the consequences for the same.
So, Kakaji, is there any software or the nature operates everything on its own and we are all mere puppets?
If we can lose the perception of I, everything happens on its own. If we do not associate with the identification with the body or the feeling of I, everything happens on its own.
Kakaji, another sadhak wants to know that those who have attained their real self, they are now beyond the karta bhav or the feeling of doing something. So they, while doing everything, say that they are not doing anything. Everything is predestined and is happening by itself.
The one who has freed himself from the perception of I and the ego, whatever actions or karmas he commits, he is free from the consequences of those actions or the karmas, whether they are positive or negative. That is why what a human does is karma, what Shakti does is kriya, and what God does is leela.
Kakaji, does this prarabdha or destiny come to us in a form of an opportunity or in the form of a consequence, like happiness or sorrow?
Destiny itself is happiness and sorrow. Nothing but happiness and sorrow.
Is it a result of accumulated karmas and actions?
It is the outcome of the accumulated, the ongoing and the destined karmas.
Kakaji, it is said that the accumulated karmas or actions remain accumulated in the Sushumna Nadi. What does it really mean, Kakaji?
The past karmas or the actions remain accumulated in the causal body or the Sushumna Nadi, and according to the place, time or the situation, they get activated and then lead to the related outcome.
Kakaji, is it related to the Ingla and Pingla Nadis?
No, it isn't related to those.
Kakaji, a sadhak wants to know, why do we have so many difficulties in accepting our destiny or prarabdha?
The real problem is that we cannot accept the reality. We do not accept the things as they are. We try to project ourselves the way we think we should be, and we do not accept the way that we really are. We try to run away from the reality, the truth. We try to be an escapist. And more often than not, we are always trying to run from our own self. In a nutshell, this is our real problem.
Kakaji, another sadhak wants to know that how can we know that our present is a consequence or an outcome of our destiny or our present actions?
It actually depends on the outcome of the action or the karma, whether it was committed in the past or in the present. So in a way, it would depend both on the action or the karma as well as its outcome.
The learned saints keep on doing actions while being on their karta bhav?
Yes, because they have moved beyond the identification with the physical body, so they can work and function without that feeling of ego and can actually outperform the others.
So, what is this karta bhav, Kakaji? Can it remain permanent?
In accordance with the divine will, to become a medium in this great cosmic play or the leela is what we call a karta bhav.
So, is this emotion temporary, Kakaji?
On achieving stability, it becomes consistent.
Kakaji, a sadhak wants to know that most of our problems are worldly or materialistic. So then why do we approach the spiritual gurus in order to find the solutions?
All of your wishes and expectations are completely worldly. And in order to fulfill them, you try everywhere possible. And whenever its fulfillment seems difficult, then you start looking for the divine assistance. And it is this very motive that brings you to a spiritual guru, where you then try to find a real solution.
The same sadhak wants to know, Kakaji, that how can we break down on our habit of feeling low and inferior?
For as long as you do not experience that you are consciousness, you will continue to have the association with your physical body. And as your experience of you being consciousness starts getting stronger, the association with the body fades away. There are certain IAS officers or IPS officers who, even after their retirement, they continue to feel that they are still in the job, and their everyday behavior and conduct reflects the same thing. The impression of their office post is so strong that they cannot accept the fact that now they have been retired. It's just like the fact that somebody is really associated with the physical body, which has been an impression of the last so many lives and continues to exist.
Kakaji, what is the difference between imagination and experience?
Experience is a real entity, whereas imagination is a mental concept. It is a possibility of the future. It may or may not happen at all.
Kakaji, when and how does this desire to attain the Almighty happen inside of us?
On the materialistic plane, when our wishes and expectations of the mind, knowledge, consciousness and ego do not get fulfilled, then we finally realize that this is actually not everything, because through all these things, at the most, one may get momentary pleasure or pain, and the sequence continues to remain. And to break it off, when a feeling of detachment coupled with wisdom and conscience manifests before him, then stand the questions like, who am I? What is this world? Who has created everything around me? And what is the relation of that creator with me and the world? Is the one who created the world the same who created me too? There are many such questions which arise in his mind. And to satisfy the quest, the curiosity to find the answers to all such questions, that person then turns inwards towards spirituality.
When does a person start the search of his guru?
When through one's own sheer efforts, the realization of one's own self is not possible, it's then that the search of a guru begins. Alright?
And when and how a person attains his guru?
When you are finally ready on a mental, intellectual as well as conscious level, with a feeling of detachment coupled with conscience, and you are ready with full surrender and refuge, it's then that you attain your guru.
The same sadhak wants to know, Kakaji, that after taking the Guru Diksha, does our Guru protect us in every way?
If the seeker carries inside his heart a feeling of faith, trust, love and reverence towards his Guru, then of course the Guru Tattva will make sure to protect the seeker, and not only that, will work towards his well-being and spiritual progress.
Kakaji, is Guru Diksha an incident or a process?
Guru Diksha is a process, and when it begins, it finally culminates into an event.
Kakaji, another sadhak has asked this question, that is it essential that we surrender everything to our Guru, consider him our God? Because considering today's scenario, we may feel cheated. This is the doubt in sadhak's mind.
As long as you do not develop absolute trust, faith, love and reverence towards your Guru, till then your surrender and your refuge carries no value whatsoever. The surrender and refuge is towards yourself, the true form of your real self inside you. That itself is the Guru Tattva, and so it's towards the Guru Tattva. Guru is a phenomenon, not a person. And if someone has not yet risen to the plane of being a Guru, if you surrender and take refuge in such a person, then whatsoever knowledge he has will come to you, and whatever you have will go to that person.
What does surrenderance to our Guru mean, Kakaji?
Guru is a phenomenon. And if there is a wall standing in between you and the Supreme Power or Divinity or your real self, then it is your own ego. As long as the wall of this ego does not collapse, real surrender and refuge does not begin. And both these processes are in a way relatively dependent on each other. As your trust, faith, love and reverence grows, in the same proportion, you develop strong trust, strong faith, a feeling of detachment and knowledge coupled with conscience. A real feeling of surrender and refuge starts manifesting inside you. So this is how surrender begins and ultimately takes you beyond to the next level.
The same sadhak has asked, what is meant by Guru's Agya?
Guru Agya is actually a process. You have to understand that your Guru, during his own Diksha, with the permission of his Guru, must have acquired some mantras, some anushthan or rituals, some sadhana or meditation techniques. And the Guru has then followed those techniques and those rituals and finally has been able to attain his real true self and finally merge into that phenomenon we call Guru Tattva. And so this very process is what we call Guru Agya, and that is what has to be considered for serving your Guru. It's not by your own will, it has to be by the Guru's will. And the Guru's will is that whatever path he has shown you, you must walk on that till you reach your goal. So in a nutshell, this is Guru Seva.
Another question related to this only is that, does the Guru Agya happen after the Guru is well aware of his disciples' situation?
A Guru is well aware of your destiny, your karmas, and the invisible forces of nature working on you. And he works in accordance with your destiny, your karmas, both accumulated and ongoing, uses them as a resource and channelizes everything properly so that your spiritual progress is attained and you move on. And taking into account the bigger picture, whatever proportion or amount your spiritual well-being and your progress must go through, the Guru tries his best to make it a reality. In fact, this is a Guru's real work, to keep his disciple, his seeker, moving on in the right direction, to work in complete coordination and be a help in making him attain his real self, his real goal, the ultimate bliss.
Right. And Kakaji, if a disciple is unable to act as per his Guru's Agya, what will be the consequences of this? Can you please throw some light on that?
The proportion in which a disciple's trust towards his Guru matures, it's for sure that in the same proportion that faith transforms into affection and the affection transforms and reaches the climax of surrender, and in the same proportion the disciple becomes capable of fulfilling his guru's wishes. If by any chance the disciple finds that he or she is not very capable of fulfilling his guru's wishes or commands, then it simply means that there is something lacking, either in terms of the equipment or there is some other defect therein. So then, all these aspects have to be taken into consideration for the bigger final picture.
Kakaji, what is the difference between Guru Kripa and Shaktipat?
Guru Kripa is Shaktipat and Shaktipat is Guru Kripa.
Kakaji, what are the symptoms that make someone worthy of Guru Kripa?
The person who has love and respect for himself, love and respect for the others, intellect as well as detachment along with conscience, utmost devotion towards the omnipresent, transcendental Supreme God. If someone is showing all these traits, then for sure he is a suitable candidate.
Kakaji, we always keep asking from God, but what is it that we should ask from our Guru?
The reality is that the Guru Tattva and the Supreme Power is one and the same. So, one should seek to be able to find one's real self, complete surrenderance, love, bliss. These are the things one should seek one's Guru's blessings for. And of course, the guidance for the right path. The truth is that whatever the Guru has attained, the seeker or the disciple should try to offer his prayers with love, bliss, as well as complete reverence for the same.
Kakaji, Sadhak has asked that sorrow, pain, scarcity and failures almost always fill us with despair. Is there any way to channelize this energy into a more positive way?
You see, all these emotions like sorrow, pain, lack and whatever, they are nothing but a flow of negative energy. That negative energy has to be transformed into positive energy, and on the way, it needs to be used for one's inner progress, which in the real sense is Guru Seva, is Sadhan Seva, and is the only way one should progress on the path of one's inner journey.
The next question is also related to this only, that how can we change our behavior by thoughts, by hard work or by progress of our own practice or sadhana?
The progress of one's sadhana or practice will lead to inner transformation, and that will lead to behavioral or outward transformation. Artificially or externally, no change in one's behavior occurs, and even if it happens, it will not be permanent.
Another sadhak has asked Kakaji that when the results are not as per our expectations, we experience sorrow or pain. The mind opposes this. In such situations, should we oppose or accept?
It's the very nature of mind that if its wishes are not fulfilled, it becomes angry, it becomes sad. It leaves hope and turns pessimistic. So in such a situation, there is actually no better way than to accept oneself and the conditions.
The next question is a little bit more practical question, Kakaji. If somebody imposes their like on us, becomes aggressive or even violent, what can we do to remain non-resistive?
Whatever he is doing is a result of lack of conscience. There is no need for us whatsoever to be a receptor to this or accept it. If you do find yourself in such a situation, then there is actually no need to keep relations with such a person, because all that you are going to get is sorrow. If you keep relations with stupid people, you will get only sorrow in return. So a sadhak is supposed to use his intellect and knowledge filled with conscience to call for his blood relations, his near and dear ones, his family, and all of his true friends.
Kakaji, the same sadhak has asked that if someone becomes fatally ill or gets serious injuries through some accident or something, should he succumb to surrender or get himself treated properly?
He should get treatment, because this physical body from God is a resource, and only if it stays in good form will the sadhana of disciple be possible. If the resource stays capable and strong, only then is the possibility of an experience of spirituality, love, as well as wisdom, because you see, this physical body is just a medium through which you can experience all this. The deities have divine bodies which do not undergo sadhana, and so they have to be born as human beings, because sadhana is possible only as a human. So there is a real significance of this human body, and that's why it is imperative that this person should undergo treatment, look after and take care of his physical body, maintain it and respect it.
Kakaji, can you please share some examples for this?
Like?
Of such divine souls?
Yes, there are a lot of such divine souls which are liberated but which haven't yet attained wisdom. There are lots of such souls. They do not undergo sadhana themselves. They make humans their medium and get their sadhana done by them. And in return, they bless the humans with a lot of prosperity, lots of luxury.
Kakaji, another sadhak has asked some questions regarding surrenderance. He wants to know what is surrender and who actually surrenders.
Mind, intellect and consciousness are the one that surrender to oneself. There is no reason for the soul to surrender, and the soul never does surrender. For the omnipresent transcendental element, there is no possibility of surrender, and neither is there a need. There is no requirement. Only the entities that are calm by nature have the requirement of surrendering to the infinite, because only the calm entities can merge in the infinite.
Kakaji, how is surrender related to awakening?
Only if one is awake with consciousness-filled intellect is the surrenderance possible. It's not possible in unconsciousness.
The same sadhak has asked that surrendering to whom opens up the door for the materialistic world, and surrendering to whom opens up the spiritual world, Kakaji?
If someone surrenders himself completely to the Guru Tattva, he attains both Yog and Kshem.
Someone else has asked Kakaji that those who wants to cheat us or to exploit us, should we be accepting towards them also and surrender to them as well?
This you need to make a decision about with your own consciousness and intellect, whether you want to fall in a pit or want to move on the right path.
The same sadhak has asked that does a disciple or Shishya surrender by himself, Kakaji, or as his reverence, trust towards his Guru grows, the surrenderance happens?
As the reverence, trust, faith and affection towards one's Guru grows, in the same proportion surrenderance grows.
Kakaji, someone who is not awakened or aware, is he compelled to think, experience and act according to his situation, or does he also have some sort of freedom of choice?
Someone who is under someone else's control is not at all able to make any choices for himself.
Thank you so much, Kaka ji. And with this, we come to the end of this small series of questions that Kaka ji has been so generous to answer us. We feel really blessed for this, Kaka ji, and all Sadhak brothers and sisters will remain obliged to you, Kaka ji. Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki jai.